Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Today, on March 15th, 1919, about 1,000 United States soldiers gathered in Paris for the very first meeting of the American Legion. Today, the Legion is the nation's largest veterans organization with nearly 3 million members. The American Legion has built parks and playgrounds, donated equipment to hospitals and fire halls, sponsored Boy Scout troops and youth baseball leagues, promoted the study of the Constitution in schools, and much more. For God and country is the American Legion motto. The organization has nearly 15,000 posts worldwide, and there is probably one right around the corner from where you live. And your community is almost certainly a better place for it. We salute the American Legion. Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America. We need a patriot to call in with our Pledge of Allegiance. Come on, come on. Good morning. Thank you very much, and welcome to Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, and along with some of our great advertisers like Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service, call 734-6969. All right, now let's go to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning. Good morning. Wheels, where are they?
Go ahead, sir.
All right, let's get them on. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air. Caller, good morning. What's going on over there? Wheels?
He was calling in to talk to you, but he was going to do the pledge also, but I guess I'll do it. All
right, you'll have to because we don't want any more dead air. Get him on the air. Good morning. Go ahead, please.
Oh, I will do it, sir.
Yes.
Alrighty. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right now, let's take a look at the weather forecast, and it's brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design at 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. All your carpet and flooring, kitchen construction, home decor items, whatever you need to make your house a home, you be sure and get a hold of Cheney Flooring and Home Design. And they've got lots and lots of flooring, wood, tile, carpet, all of it there at Cheney Flooring and Home Design. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Another windy day here in the valley. Of course, we are in a wind advisory through 8 o'clock tonight. Steady winds out of the west, right around 20 miles an hour. Gusts possible of 25 plus. Of course, we're going to remain windy at least through Thursday. Looks like partly cloudy skies for today. High of 43. Tonight, low of 28. Tomorrow, wind will continue out of the west, right around 15 miles an hour. Partly cloudy skies. High of 50 with an overnight low of 31. That's going to continue through Thursday, but it's going to push some of the clouds out. Looking at mostly sunny skies for Thursday with a high of 50, overnight low of 27. Yesterday's high was 45, the overnight low was 32. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
I appreciate it, Gina. Thank you very much. Cheney Flooring and Home Design, our sponsor of the weather this morning. Thank you very much at 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Don't forget on Thursdays, the Burley Livestock Sale Yard, 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley. Merv May, Cade Rogge, and Lance Udy. All of these folks working for you. You better believe it. 10 a.m. starting time. Burley Livestock Livestock Sale Yard. And for more information on the sale and consignments, etc., call them at 678-9411. 678-9411, Thursday sale day at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard. I want to remind you that there is going to be a community breakfast put on at the Cassia County Senior Center, Golden Heritage Senior Center, and that's going to be this coming Saturday at 2421 Overland in Burley, and it's going to start at 8 o'clock in the morning, go till 10 o'clock, only $7, and they're going to have a lot of really good food, and it benefits the Meals on Wheels program, and I've been told that the Easter Bunny is going to hop on in and taking pictures. For more information, call 878-8646. Big community breakfast at the Burley Senior Center, Golden Heritage Senior Center on Overland. Don't forget to our friends, and they are our friends, at Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Kevin and Cindy, the whole crew, waiting to serve you with the best of what I call renovated clothing. I mean, I go in there with my rumply crumplies, and I'll guarantee you they come back looking brand new. They do a phenomenal job. And by the way, Kevin and I were talking the other day, and when you go in there with your clothes, they hand you what it's going to cost. If you will prepay it, you get 10% off the bill. Can't beat that. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. I also want to say thank you again to SafeLink Internet. I rely on SafeLink. I mean, my whole program relies on SafeLink for all the information that we have to get from various sources and news outlets on the East Coast, etc. Thank you very much, SafeLink, for a job well done. Number to call, 677-8000. Again, that number, 677-8000. And they've got way over 10,000 customers and growing at SafeLink Internet. You get a hold of them today. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. Give us a jingle on the landline. I watched the news yesterday extensively. It was a rotten day outside. It would rain, and then it would clear up, and then the wind would blow, and then it would clear up, and then the snow would fall, and same thing. It would clear up, and it kept going like that. So I went in and watched the news and took notes on a lot of things that were going on, and I am absolutely convinced, after really studying the body language of this man and how he acts on the program, that Juan Williams is not, of Fox News, is not a very bright person. He doesn't think things out. Yesterday on the 5, he proved his inability to follow a news story. Now, they were talking about protesters, and they were talking about Donald Trump's rallies, and they were talking about what's going on, and is he, Donald Trump, at fault for protesters causing a problem? Good heavens, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard of. Well, he blamed Trump, naturally, because Juan Williams is a Democrat and a liberal. Well, he blamed Trump, but in the latter parts of this conversation, when it came to the organizers of protesters like MoveOn.org and Black Lives Matter, he said, well, no, they're innocent. They really didn't cause any of the problem. He took the blame away from them and just gave the blame to one man, Donald Trump. Now, I don't have to tell you every day that I am not a Trump supporter. I actually voted, I'll tell you straight up, I voted for Cruz, okay? But I'm not one of these kind of guys that's going to sit back and say, well, my candidate got beat, so I'm not going to support anybody. I'm going to, on this program, support anyone that runs against Hillary Clinton and the demonic left, because our country cannot absorb the absolute lowness of what that administration would bring. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Did you have Rice Krispies this morning for breakfast? We'll talk about that in just a moment. Don't forget Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley, and also their Twin Falls location at 291 Pole Line in Twin Falls. And we, being the Zeb's Lunch Bunch, are going to be over there at Denny's on Thursday for St. Patrick's Day and our green lunch bunch. Everybody wear green. But the one that looks the most like a little green leprechaun will get a free lunch. So please come on down and enjoy Zeb's Lunch Bunch at Denny's. Great food, breakfast, lunch, or dinner. The menu is phenomenal. The service is great. You're going to love it at America's Diner, Denny's Restaurant. This Thursday at 11:30 for Zeb's Lunch Bunch. Also want to say thank you to Ramsey Heating and Electric, and they've been with us a long time on this program. And for all your heating and electrical needs, I don't care if you need a little bitty cord or a plug-in or a light bulb or a whole heating system. I mean, they can help you, and they will, at Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. And they throw the doors open at 7:30 in the morning till 5, Monday through Friday. And you can also call 678-0459, where they provide warm winters and cool summers at Ramsey Heating and Electric. All right, your turn. Give us a call. I absolutely don't even know how to touch this story because it's really distasteful, okay? I will just read to you the first part of what the Associated Press story said. A criminal investigation is underway after a video surfaced online showing a man, well, he wasn't putting milk on the Rice Krispies, I'll tell you that, on the assembly line. He was doing something else. And after this video surfaced, Kellogg Company immediately alerted law enforcement authorities, it says in the Associated Press story. An investigation is being conducted by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration's office, and the Kellogg Company said, and this is where they can't assure anybody that their Rice Krispies weren't tainted. I don't know what else to say, folks. But they said, we can assure consumers that we take seriously our mission to protect the public health. Well, yeah, after the fact. And I wonder what's going to happen to the guy. I wonder if they caught the guy. I wonder if there are charges against the guy. This all took place at a Memphis, Tennessee production factory in 2014, 2 years ago. And kind of makes you wonder when you go to the grocery store and look at those Rice Krispies, you wonder to yourself, okay, something to think about when you're doing your grocery shopping today. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call, please. You know, there's another story that absolutely, it sickened me and it worried me for the workers that are subjected to this, and it's right in your backyard in Burley. And I want to talk about that in just a minute. I was going to try to get a hold of County Clerk Joe Larson and have him come on the air this morning and talk about it, but we'll kind of review the story. Holy cow, that's serious stuff. We'll talk about it in just a moment. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. There, I gave you the location. Now I'm going to give you the telephone number, 678-1191. And they know all the exercises. Believe me, they know all the exercises. They know everything about the sports medicine, and they got the hydrotherapy pool with the treadmill. Ooh, baby, they can help you get back to being you. I'm headed for another appointment at the beginning of the week, and we're looking forward to it. Nick Greenwell and all the physical therapists, they know their stuff. At Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 678-1191. Your calls, appreciated, 436. Don't wait till the last half hour. Get out of bed, give me a call. Come on, I'd love to hear from you. And if you are on a cell phone, just please hold the phone still. You can't be waving your arms trying to land a plane on an aircraft carrier, or if you're driving down the road, the reception might not be good, so please hold it still. The story that was in the paper this last couple of days about Cassia County officials are considering, and I'm reading from the story written by Lori Welch, Cassia County officials are considering new policies for court office workers who wait on customers who are known drug users with bleeding sores. Oh my goodness! And it said County Clerk Joe Larson said the issue should be addressed to avoid liability for the county and to prevent a contagious situation for employees and the public. Well, I would hope to shout, Joe. My goodness. You know, in today's age, you have to worry about that at an office of people coming in. And it said here, Larson received 2 emails from employees asking for a policy to handle patrons who come to the service counters through the security screening with bleeding sores. Sometimes the customers are actively scratching and picking at the sores while at the counter. And you can't blame these folks that work at Cassia County. I'm absolutely on their side, 1,000%. They are concerned personally with contracting hepatitis and tuberculosis because precautions are not in place. Most of the things that employees have brought up have to do with a known drug user. Holy cow. You know, first of all, I mean, when it comes, they're going to have to wear hazmat suits to work at the county and rubber gloves and take the rubber gloves off to try to write and type and all that kind of stuff and then put them back on. Wow, they should get hazardous duty pay. And while the county works to establish a policy or procedures, the county has ordered protective nose and mouth coverings for the workers to prevent exposure to bloodborne pathogens. Holy mackerel. Calls are welcome. What are your thoughts about that? Right here in your Cassia County. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't be quiet, folks. That's what this program's all about. And once you start being quiet, I'm taking the program off the air because I need to talk to you. You're the main reason we're on the air, so give us a call. Hey, Barry Equipment and Rental. They have 3 locations to serve you: Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, South Lincoln and Jerome, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. And they've got all the Coyote tractors, a fantastic selection of Coyote tractors at all 3 locations, 25 horsepower and up. And I don't know if they've still got that CK3510 with a loader, just $19,450. Whoo, great buy. And super warranties and great financing plans available at Barry Equipment and Rental. Twin Falls, Jerome, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. You stop in, they have all the equipment you need to get the job done right. Your turn, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, when you're working in an office, and I've seen this happen at doctors' offices, and it just makes me cringe. You're sitting there in an office, and you are literally, at times, shoulder to shoulder and chair to chair next to somebody that is sitting there, and it's happened to me on a couple of occasions. You're waiting to go see the doctor, and people are going, and they don't put their hand over their mouth, or they'll sneeze, and it goes all over the room, and like was depicted in the story, they'll sit there and such low-class type attitudes, and they will pick at sores. And it's just, I was going to say something more, but I'm not going to. But if this is happening, or it's exposing county workers at a desk situation and a counter situation, that's absolutely despicable. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Jack.
Hello, Tony.
Just a little talk about what the millennials who are in love with Hillary and Bernie are facing in the future. Socialism with Hillary, Bernie with the destruction of the financial situation and communism, and with the influx of Muslim population in this country, our millennials will be faced with Sharia law.
Yeah.
And they're doing all they can to destroy Donald Trump, who can do something to pull this country back to where it should be.
All right, well, I'm just going to say this, Tony. The millennials that I saw on television last night that were interviewed on Fox's Water's World were absolutely, and I'm not going to pull any punches on this, I'm going to tell it like it is, they were naive and dumb. And if that is the next generation coming up, they had no clue about the candidates. They had no clue about world problems. They didn't have a clue about anything. And they just acted like, oh, gimme, gimme, gimme. I need a handout. And I wonder how many of those millennials that were interviewed last night with rings in their ears and bones in their noses, how many have jobs? How many have families to support, own a home or rent a home or whatever? These people haven't got a clue.
Oh, yeah, they're being promised all this stuff that you and I are going to be paying for, and pretty soon you and I will be broke, and there'll be no money to support them and their fancies. Then you're going to see all this stuff going on, and the war zone's going to be right in our own street.
No, I couldn't agree more. I see a battle between the past and good and morality and values and the present, which is gimme, gimme, I'm a welfare state recipient, don't take my money away, give me free living, give me a free education. I do. I agree with you. I see a battle looming. Thank you, Tony.
You're welcome, Jeff.
God bless you, man. Thanks much. Yeah, what about you folks? I mean, they were interviewing these kids. And really, they were kind of pandering to the kids to give them an answer, and, tell us about Bernie. Why do you like socialism? They didn't have a clue. They don't know what socialism. They don't even know how to spell it. And communism, they didn't have a clue about Bernie Sanders as far as if he was a congressman or a senator. And the only reason they're supporting Bernie Sanders, my opinion, is because he's just pandering to their stupidity and saying he's going to give them and provide for them. This is the problem. Oh, by the way, that ties into something else I want to talk about this morning here real quick. I saw a woman on television that is a former Democrat, and she was on early this morning at about 4:25. And she's from Indiana. And she made the case that her family, over the many, many years that they lived in Indiana, were absolute staunch Democrats. And she said, adios to the Democratic Party. That's it. We're out of there. And she said the party now, being the Democratic Party, the party now is enabling the poor and the weak to stay poor and weak. And there is a lot of truth to that. You think about that. The Democratic Party and their platform is an enabler for the poor and the weak to stay poor and weak. Think about that. I'll do a commercial and then give me a call. That's where we're headed, with enabling the poor and the weak to stay in their rut and create more poor and weak. Don't forget Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids with the lovely Dr. Christine Pickup. And I urge you to get a hearing screening. And it's so easy. You call up 312-0957 and you say, well, yes, I've lost a little bit of my hearing and I don't know. It might be related to some health problem or medicine or whatever. Could I please come over and have a check? Absolutely. And she can help you with your hearing right across from the Minidoka Hospital Emergency Room. That number to call again, 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Please call them today. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. It is really scary to me, and I'm not trying to be theatrical. I'm being really honest with you. when you read and see these protesters, these millennial kids, some with their heads shaved except for a racing landing strip right in the middle, or earrings and bones in their noses and all kinds of weird tattoos. Well, what do you do for a living? Well, I don't work. Well, how do you get your money? Well, I get it from my folks, or I'm on welfare. Well, where do you live? Well, I live in the basement of my house, my parents' house. Well, my goodness, what a waste we are bringing up. And it's really true what that lady said this morning. The Democratic Party enables the poor and the weak to stay poor and weak. Get up off the couch and make something of yourself. Looking to advance your career? Notice the segue right here. It worked out perfect. Check out Dot Foods, and they've got great hiring event coming up this Saturday, March 19th from 10 to noon. At Dot's Distribution Center in Burley, and they've got a lot of full-time and part-time jobs. Don't pass up on this. Don't be lazy. Get up off the couch and go check out a great job with a great future and career. Apply now at dotfoods.com/careers or be there Saturday, March 19th at Dot Distribution Center and check it out. Okay? There you go. Your turn. Where's some of my stalwarts that call in? Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I don't know how, and I've railed about this many times on the program. Somebody tell me how we are going to implement back into our schools and back into our everyday life the idea and the concept that you are responsible for your own actions, you are responsible for your own future, and you are responsible for feeding and clothing and housing yourself. How do we get that back? And like the lady from Indiana said this morning, the Democrats being an enabler, which in other words is being a crutch to people that are stupid, naive, and just plain lazy, it's becoming the enabling party for the poor to always stay poor, and the weak that don't want to get up off the couch and do anything with the talents God gave them to stay weak. And that lady hit it right on the head. But my question to you is, how in the world do we change this thing around? I mean, we've lost the concept that you can succeed if you try here in this great country of America. And there are schools, there are colleges and universities that are absolutely condemning that preceding statement. They don't like that. There are the liberals that are saying, well, you can't say that. You can succeed if you try here in America. Why, that's being selfish, as if America was the only place you can succeed. That's what they're complaining about. Well, I'm going to keep on saying it. We live in a country that provides so much, still, even today, under Obama, that provides so much as far as reaching out and using the old AT&T theory, reaching out and touching somebody. You can reach out and utilize the talents. You want to be an electrician? You love to play with the red wire, the green wire, and the yellow wire? Not me. I'm not good at that. You want to be maybe a rocket scientist? You want to be a lawyer? God forbid. You want to go and do anything you can in this country, and you can. There are avenues. There are people. There are great people in education that can help you devise plans to get here. Step 1, step 2, step 3. If you've got one thing, some work ethic. And that's what I didn't see on TV last night. Holy smokes. These are leeches. Well, I don't want to do anything. No, I don't have to work. I get my welfare check, my government money. No, I don't own a home. I live in my folks' basement, or I live out in the garage. And they're happy with that? Come on, call me. 436-2244. This is disgusting. I want to talk a little bit about Doug's Alternator Service. My goodness, there's a good old boy. Doug's Alternator and Starter Repair at 635 21st Street on Alfresco Road in Hayburn. Number to call, number to remember, 878-4991. And it used to be Ted's Diesel Electric Service. Now it is Doug's Alternator and Starter Repair. And same great service, just a different name. So you be sure and get a hold of him. He's open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. And that is Doug's Alternator and Starter Repair. You get a hold of them today. Also want to remind you, let's see, I'm going to get this scratched off here so I don't get in trouble. Real quick about certified pest control. You got pests, you got mice, you got voles, you got, pests all over the place, including millennials. But anyway, get rid of the pests. And now plan on getting rid of the bad weeds, too. The puncture vine, the goat heads, they can cause all kinds of damage. And if you fall on them, you're going to go ouch or say something you shouldn't. And I urge you to get a hold of Kevin at Certified Pest Control today. The number to call, 219-7576, or go to the website avoidbugs.com. I love that, avoidbugs.com. And now's the time to be thinking about spraying for all those bad weeds. And talk to him, too, if you got a mouse or a vole problem. They can help, I know, because they work for us. Certified Pest Control, 219-7576. Is everybody sleeping? Well, good morning. Wake up, please. Okay. Mike Huckabee, former Arkansas governor, was also jumping in on this morning. And he said, what we're seeing and hearing, and I'm paraphrasing, I'm not giving a direct quote on this, what we're seeing and hearing every day is the political overthrow of our government. And that's really true. We focus on the millennials, and we focus on the Black Lives Matter, and we focus on the MoveOn.org and everything, but think about the other side. People are mad, and rightfully so, at politicians that are in office only to put the money in their own pockets. The graft and the corruption. People are mad because they're sick and tired of politics as usual. People are mad because it doesn't seem like the federal government is doing the job of protecting the people. People are mad because there is no innovation, no new ideas to help make America great again. And I'm not touting the theme of Donald Trump. That's just a fact. And he said, what we're seeing by these people like myself and you and everybody else that's not happy with government, not happy with the status quo, is we're seeing a political overthrow of our government. I think he's right. And I think we're going to see a lot more upheaval in the future, like Tony alluded to a little bit ago on his phone call. I think we're going to see some clashes in this country, and it might be needful. Now, I know a lot of people cringe when I say that, but maybe we're going to have a good versus evil clash in this country. Because right now, evil is taking the number one seat, and we got to throw them out of that seat. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yeah, Zeb, it's just me again. I didn't want to take up too much of your time before. I think the biggest obstacle Donald Trump is going to be facing is from his own party. They're trying to destroy him, and this way we'll have the same kind of garbage that we had before up there in Washington, D.C. And nobody in the old establishment is going to make any changes at all. And I'm really disappointed with Romney joining forces with the establishment.
Well, Romney joined forces with a loser, and that's Marco Rubio. And I don't think Romney's done himself any favors if he even has an inkling in the future of getting into politics. There was a good letter in the paper this morning, as a matter of fact, about Romney, and I thought it was well written in the way it was put together, and basically telling Romney that, boy, you made a mess out of your political career. And he did. You know, Mitt Romney had a chance to be president and beat Barack Obama. And it was through, I don't know if I should use the word cowardice, or if it was through trying to be absolutely too polite, because you can't be too polite in politics if you want to win. But Romney blew that election, and there's no excuse for him.
Well, I think personally, Romney thought it would be best to go in there like a mouse and just be kind and gentle to everybody. But in the situation we've got in this country now, we need Donald Trump, who has the same thoughts that Teddy Roosevelt and General George Patton had. Let's get the job done, otherwise we lose it all.
You know, and there are those out there, Tony, that absolutely cringe when you say we need Donald Trump. And I am not going to, I got to say this, and I'm going to be very upfront with you. You're a very dear friend. A lot of what Donald Trump has said, a lot of what Donald Trump stands for, I can't stand up and say that I salute him or his past politics. But I absolutely will support him over a liberal leftist like Hillary Clinton that will be the demise of our Constitution.
Well, he's just the type of guy that sees something wrong, and he's going to get this thing corrected no matter what it takes.
I hope you're right. Tony, God bless you.
Somebody's feelings, that's too bad.
I agree. I do agree. Some people have got to forget their hurt wah-wah feelings. Thank you very much. Appreciate your call. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Well, I guess I'll just go on vacation again. Deanne, we're going to leave for Arizona right after the program, and we're not getting the calls, so if they don't want to participate in the program, I'm going to go down and bask in the sunshine, feed my horse early in the morning, and go rope. Give us a call, please. I can't afford another trip right now to Arizona. Give me a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. The whole purpose of this program is to get you involved and to hear what you have to say. So you've got a great time to do it right now. While I'm waiting for your call that I hope is just coming down the wire, don't forget it's time for the weather and Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service. Aha! We woke up the natives. Now, caller, you got to have patience with me. I'm in the middle of my weather. Stay there. Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service, 336 South, 450 West of Paul. Number to call, 431-8733. They can prune your trees. They can prune your ornamental and shade trees. They can take stumps out of the ground. Oh, yes, they can. And they can put in brand new sprinkler systems. They're good. Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service, 431-8733. And now here's Gina with the weather.
Another windy day here in the valley. Of course, we are in a wind advisory through 8 o'clock tonight. Steady winds out of the west, right around 20 miles an hour. Gusts possible of 25 plus. Of course, we're going to remain windy at least through Thursday. Looks like partly cloudy skies for today. High of 43. Tonight, low of 28. Tomorrow, wind will continue out of the west, right around 15 miles an hour. Partly cloudy skies. High of 50 with an overnight low of 31. That's going to continue through Thursday, but it's going to push some of the clouds out. Looking at mostly sunny skies for Thursday with a high of 50, overnight low of 27. Yesterday's high was 45, the overnight low was 32. That is your weather for Zebit Terrain.
I'll tell you what, the people that know trees and pruning of trees and beautiful trees, Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service. And the number to call, 431-8733. Caller, you are a very patient person. Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, Zeb, I have to both agree and disagree with both you and your last caller. I agree that if Donald Trump is the candidate on the ballot, that we as a nation would be fools to not do everything in our power to have him elected, because anything is better than Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders. And I'm still not so sure that somewhere along the line, somebody isn't going to throw Hillary under the bus, split Bernie in there. I'm not comfortable with that thought yet. But I don't think that Donald Trump is the end-all, be-all, the savior of the nation. He does a lot of talking, and he does a lot of getting people whipped into a frenzy in his rallies, and that's great, and that's wonderful, and that's something that certainly Mitt Romney, the gentleman, didn't do. But one thing that Mitt Romney did is he laid out solid plans for this is how I can make this happen. And if I listen to a Donald Trump speech, I hear a lot of cheerleading. Let's go do this. Let's go do that. And he'll repeat something several times in his speech. It's like he regurgitates the same 3-minute speech over and over and over again. I have never once heard a solid plan of something that he can legally implement. Never once.
All right, now I'm gonna come on here, and I'm gonna say, really, my dear lady, you and I are not really in disagreement. As a matter of fact, we're in agreement.
Barely hearing.
Wheels, hold on a second. Wheels, make sure this lady can hear me. Run the dial over at the station.
That is a little better.
All right. He's got to monitor that. Now, let me just say this. I don't think you and I are in disagreement at all. I do not like the stance or the position or the past statements or the attitudes of many of which Donald Trump is attributed in saying or acting out. However, when you bring up Mitt Romney, you have to be fair and honest that he blew his own campaign because he was not forceful enough and he was not educated enough on how to get his point across, especially in the debate where Candy Crowley interrupted him and gave the floor back to Obama. He lost the election right there. All I'm saying is I think that if we're going to have Trump as a nominee, we've got to support him. I personally would like to see somebody else come up from somewhere that is dynamic but yet is respected enough to be a quality president.
Okay, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. And I agree that Mitt Romney should have been more forceful. But I can't help but look at both of their policies and think that I would much rather have someone who could lay out in black and white a definitive plan. This is how we can do it. This is how we will do it. And so I have to both agree and disagree. But if Donald Trump is on the ballot, I will vote for him.
All right.
It will break my heart.
Well,
but if there's a brokered convention and they pull out somebody out of a hat anywhere, I will vote for that person. I would vote for Donald Duck if the Republicans put him on the ballot right now.
Well, you don't want to have Donald Duck because I'll tell you what, right now Daisy won't let him out of the house.
Okay,
no.
Well, I guess we're not going to get it then, are we?
Right. Hey, God bless you for your call. Thank you so much.
Okay.
All right, take care. You know, the one question before I take this next call that really bothers me is, what about the Trump support? What about the millions and millions, a big percent of voters that are going to be disenfranchised if all of a sudden they have the dump Trump? Think about that. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
I said, the one thing I think people are overlooking about Donald Trump, I myself personally voted for Cruz, but the one thing that people are overlooking about Donald Trump, he is a highly intelligent man. He has to be to have won and lost several fortunes. But he is so intelligent that his mind is working 10 times faster than what his mouth can. And his mouth can't keep up with his thoughts. And that's why he is not a good public speaker. I used to know a school teacher who was a lot like Mr. Trump. And she would constantly, when you were talking to her, you had to just really listen because she would start on a subject and she would change topics in the middle of it, just like Donald Trump did.
Yeah.
He is constantly reading and studying, and he only sleeps 4 or 5 hours a night because he is always thinking. And so people don't realize, the general public, and that's why the Democrats are so afraid of him, is because he is intelligent.
Let me just say something to you and see if you agree with me or not. I believe that Donald Trump is a very intelligent man. That's so extremely obvious because of what he's achieved and accomplished in his life as a businessman. But here's the caveat. The man has not taken the brush-up and qualifying courses in charm and charisma and personal persuasion to the point where he can have people like him.
This is why he talks like he does. It's because he cannot. He thinks so much so fast that he loses what he was trying to say.
Yeah.
And it's not because he doesn't know it.
That's right.
It's because he, like I said, his mind is going so fast that his ability to talk publicly cannot keep up with it.
Well, and I'm not going to dispute one single thing you said because I admire the man standing up there at various rallies like he did yesterday at the airport in Ohio, and he doesn't use a teleprompter. He doesn't use the gimmicks. He doesn't use notes. He speaks from the heart and from his mind. Yes, he gets himself in trouble on occasion, but on the other side of that coin, look at the absolute false front building we got with Obama. He can't say 3 words without stuttering if he doesn't have a teleprompter.
That's for sure.
Thank you for your call. God bless you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Nice lady, good call. Thank you. Give me another call right now, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Once again, if you're looking to advance your career, check out Dot Foods in Burley. This Saturday, they're going to have a great big hiring event. This Saturday, March 19th from 10 to noon at Dot's Distribution Center in Burley. Oh, my goodness, full-time and part-time. You can really help yourself. Yes, be sure and apply now at dotfoods.com/careers or be there Saturday from 10 to noon at the Dot Distribution Center in Burley. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Each and every person, all of us, have holes in our screen door and holes in our personality that at a certain time or during a certain event or whatever, we're going to offend someone and make somebody upset at us. I do it all the time, and I can't apologize because that's just me. Okay? I'm on an opinion talk show, and if you don't like it, all I can say is call in. We'll talk about it. Okay? But you can't be all things to all people. But in Trump's case, I think he could absolutely have enhanced a lot of the Republican Party and a lot of his enemies if he said the same words but only softened them to a degree. Not soften the message, but soften the delivery to the point where right away they didn't think he was being filled with animosity and wanted to get pugilistic over the whole situation. That's the way I believe. And I have my faults in that area also. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You know, they've got the best tire value promise in the industry, and they've got the best in tires. You know that. All the different tread designs for your cars, your pickups, your SUVs, horse trailers, boat trailers, whatever. You know they've got the fancy custom wheels to really dress up your four-wheeled wonder. You know they've got the professionally trained technicians for the best brake value promise in the industry. You know they've got the best of front-end alignments and shocks and struts. You know that they've got a battery for every need, great batteries. Well, and you know they've got the best in service. So with all that you know, Don't put it off. Stop into your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley, your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers. Thank you. Today is big primary day today. This, I'm getting sick and tired like a lot of people say, oh, this is Super Tuesday. Well, this is the third Super Tuesday. But today is Florida and Ohio, and they do have a whole bunch of delegate votes, along with other states. Let's see, I'm trying to remember. I think Missouri's on today, the Show Me State. The land of Lincoln, Illinois, and I believe North Carolina. I could be wrong on that one, but I think it is. And there's a lot of delegate votes that are up for grabs, and we're going to see what we're going to see later on this evening. And if Trump makes a sweep, you'd better be prepared then for the man that is going to lead the charge through the convention and into the fall election. We're going to have a break and then come back with Frosty Woldridge next hour. And then we had a change on our schedule. We've got Dr. John Zamirik at 9:30. So that's coming up this next hour on Zeb at the Ranch. We'll see you back here in 7 minutes. Stay tuned. We'll be back. Oh, welcome back. Hour number 2 on a Tuesday, March 15th. Good morning, Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you. And also, we want to say thank you very much to some of our great advertisers like Western Waste Services. Wheels, where are you, buddy? Are you there finally, young man?
I am, sir.
Where were you?
I am talking to Frosty Woldridge.
Well, that's great, but let's have that good word from Western Waste Services. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. And right now, don't forget, you can start your service today by calling Western Waste Services at 734-6969. And if you're in the construction business, don't forget to call today, and they can come out, survey your job, and give you the best quote possible for all you need on a construction site, whether it's the portable restrooms, hand wash stations, dumpsters, carts, etc. All of this and more at Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call 734-6969. We're going to have our guest on the air momentarily, but right now I also want to remind you, too, about Urgent Care of Twin Falls every Thursday at 9:12. We want to thank our friends at Urgent Care of Twin Falls, along with their other affiliated offices in Jerome and Burley, and they're going to be on the air talking to us about their great services. No appointment necessary, quicker, less expensive, and you can find out more. Call them at, of course, 933-4440. Urgent Care of Twin Falls. I also want to mention real quick about our great friends at Hanson Mortuary. Hanson Mortuary over in Rupert with our dear buddy, always ready to serve you, Joel Heward, his family, and his staff. You know, they have very flexible hours, and they're there when you need them. Absolutely. And they can travel to the rural towns and churches and always treat you and your family members with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. The number to remember, the number to call, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary, serving you. Well, it is a Tuesday, and right now let's get on the phone line and talk to my dear friend back in Golden, Colorado. Hello, Frosty Woldridge. How are you?
And good morning, Zeb, and everyone listening to your fantastic show. It's always a pleasure. I look forward to Tuesdays. And we will, of course, continue the discussion. I hope that everyone goes to newswithviews.com. My latest piece published, America Becoming Less American Every Year. And I really bring out some really heavy-duty appreciations or sobering facts. Places like New York City, which is nearly 40% of New York City right now, is foreign-born. And there are 800 there are 800 languages spoken in New York City now because it is so multiculturalized. And, of course, the educational systems are in total chaos because very few people speak English, and there's no way that we can provide 800 different language teachers out there to help them. And I bring this article to its fruition, whether it's Miami or Chicago or Minneapolis, Minnesota, or certainly Southern California. We're literally being multiculturalized and immigrated into a international country without any sovereignty left. So anyway, that's the latest article I wrote.
You know, and I really appreciate all the writings that you take the time and effort to turn out, and I totally agree with you that we, as America, are losing the melting pot theory of one nation. And we're, like you said, becoming so multiculturalized that we don't know Khmer from Sikkim. And when I look at the newspaper, whether it's the Wall Street Journal, whether it's USA Today, whether it's our local paper, whatever the case might be, and they seem to be giving much more credence to the people that are here illegally and their wants and needs as illegal aliens over the American taxpayer, I am frustrated.
Well, that frustration is echoed across the country right now. In fact, one of the reasons that the former governor, Kasich, the governor of Ohio, is losing badly is because he's an open borders, man. He advocates for open borders. He is about to add another 13,000 Muslim refugees. Thanks to Obama's policy of bringing all these refugees in. And as you can see what's happening, the American people are really angry about that. They don't want that, and they're responding. And, of course, the same thing with Marco Rubio. Here's an open borders guy, a total amnesty guy like Kasich, and he's lost himself. And the same thing happened to Jeb Bush. He completely got drubbed out of the presidential run when he was the marquee guy from the media. And he's been blown out. And the same thing's happening with Cruz. These people are not supporting the American people, and the American people are now starting to really galvanize, or what's left of us. and so that's what's happening. And I've just read, for those of you who want to see about the refugees, of course, it's refugeeresettlementwatch.wordpress.com with Ann Corcoran. And she really keeps me up to date on exactly what's going on. And really what's going on is the United Nations is pulling the shots and telling us who we have to take as Muslim refugees into our country. And as you all know, they are pouring into our country, and they will be hitting your community as this thing continues to manifest if, say, Hillary Clinton gets to be the next president of the United States. The only thing that's going to stop this invasion of our country is Donald Trump, because he's the only one that's actually going to stand up and say, no, we've had enough of this.
You know, tomorrow on the program, Frosty, if you get a chance at 9:30, your time, my time, I'm going to have a lady that you know, you've seen her on television, you listen to her quite often, and that's Brigitte Gabriel is going to be on my program for Act Now for America. And the reason I am having her on, she's a very dear friend of mine, she's been on many times in the past, is that we as an American public are being duped, and it's happening right here in this area with the College of Southern Idaho and our our local Times News, and the city of Twin Falls. We're being duped into taking more of these Muslim refugees with no questions asked, and we're being called the bigots and the hate mongers, and she's going to come on the air tomorrow morning at 9:30 and dispel all of what's going on.
Well, and I would stand with an appreciation and the reality that, you know, all the name-calling that's going on, whether it's in Chicago where they shut down the latest Trump rally, you notice that there's no conservatives shutting down any of Hillary Clinton's rallies. There's no conservatives coming in and heckling a Bernie Sanders or even O'Malley when he was running. We've been very respectful of First Amendment rights. You know, your conservative Americans are very respectful of the Constitution. And yet, you look at what's happened at all these rallies with Trump, who's drawing, 15, 20,000 people and more. You've got George Soros and MoveOn.org are creating professional hecklers and really mobsters and thugs that are disrupting these rallies where we're supposed to be carrying on a conversation about how to make America great again, how to make America better again. And that's not happening when you have these left-wing liberals, completely drowning out First Amendment rights. And yet when they have their rallies, we respect their First Amendment rights. Certainly Hillary Clinton, who's she's so full of balderdash. I can't stand listening to her. Well, of course, I can't stand listening to Barack Obama either. I actually turn the channel if I'm watching the news just to get away from his visage and her lies. I mean, she's got a lifetime of lies, and yet she's still there, and oh my gosh. So you can see the dichotomies that are going on right now. Again, as I said in this latest piece, we're becoming, here's in New York City, the people that are, this 40% that weren't even born there, Dominican Republic, China, Jamaica, Guyana, Mexico, Ecuador, Haiti, Trinidad, Tobago, Colombia, Russia, Honduras, and El Salvador, not to mention India, Brazil, Argentina, Pakistan, Kurdistan, and Puerto Rico. They all add their citizens to the Big Apple, and Los Angeles, and of course Miami, and Chicago. 100,000 Somali refugees. You know they call Minneapolis now, the whole Somali refugee, 100,000 people. It's called Somaliland by the Minnesotans. That's what we're facing. We're seeing the country completely be fractured by this massive immigration flood. And unless we don't, if we don't, vote somebody in that's going to stop it, we're going to get more of it. And this country is not going to make it.
Absolutely. We have a caller with a question. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air. Thank you.
Yeah, good morning, Zeb. I can just barely hear you, and that's typically the case. But I'd like to make a comment. If there's a House Bill 568 to prevent Sharia law or any foreign law to be used in Idaho courts, and of course it's been ridiculed tremendously. CARE came out and said that this was in violation of the Establishment Clause and so forth, but that bill needs to move forward. And of course, as you both of you know, Islam is a theocracy, not a religion. It has a political agenda, so it should be exempt from the Establishment Clause. So I'd like Frosty to comment about that.
All right, thank you very much for your call. Frosty, yes, it seems like we are being coerced, arm-twisted, or whatever in our culture to accept the Muslim philosophy, and I, for one, won't stand for it on this program. And I think in very subtle ways, and in some ways not so subtle, the Muslims and the Islamic ideology is being thrust upon us. What are your thoughts?
Well, as the caller said, there's no question. In fact, I think Nebraska just outlawed any other law from being implemented in American, constitutional law. And there's no question. I got to tell you this: Muslims will push for their theocracy, and Sharia law is the mandate of Islam. I mean, and it's a political economic system. They absolutely are counter and diametrically opposed to anything of constitutional law. In other words, Islam, in the final analysis, if it were completely mandated here in the United States, women's rights would be less than a cow's. Women's rights would be completely torn asunder. Religious choice would be completely outlawed. Free speech would be outlawed. Gay people would be literally burned at the stake. You have to understand that Sharia law is a 6th century law by a 6th century warlord named Muhammad, known as the Prophet. And he was a barbarian. He was illiterate. He was a pedophile. He was a rapist. He cut people's heads off. He cut their hands off. He's the one that started the Quran. And so, and his deal is to convert or kill all non-believers. I can go quote after quote after quote in the Quran. It's just pure, sheer violence. If you get any kind of Sharia law into your own communities with the Muslims that are coming in, you're going to have chaos, and you're going to have conflict, and you're going to have absolutely cultural disintegration of America and our constitutional law. So whatever you can do, in every state in the country, you've got to stop this thing. Not only you got to stop Sharia law from being implemented, you got to stop Muslim immigration. We need a total shutdown on all immigration into our country. Otherwise, we're going to lose our country, folks. That's a fact.
And there's another group of people, though, Frosty, that I want to comment on this morning that we're also losing the country to, and that is the vast and wide numbers of millennials that are too lazy to work. They are absolutely ignorant about what's going on in the world today. They have no jobs. They don't have families to support, or if they do, they're not supporting them. They don't own or rent houses. They're just leeches on society. Not all of them, but a growing number. That is another major reason for concern in this country.
Well, again, I really want to repeat this. These immigrants coming in here and the Muslims, 91% of them are on welfare, and it's cyclical welfare. That's what they stay on. And once they come in and they enclave, Americans flee. I mean, you look at Miami right now, it looks like a third world country that's just barely operating because it simply has been taken over by immigrants. Miami, Florida. You look at Chicago right now, 2 million people there. 2 million. That's the latest figure. 2 million of people in Chicago. I can't even hardly get a hand around this. Are illegal aliens. I mean, we all know that there's somewhere between 15 to 31 million illegal aliens in this country, and they're taking over entire cities. And, of course, Minneapolis, Minnesota, it's got 105,000 Somalis, and 9 out of 10 of them don't do diddly squat, but they live off of our backs. If anybody understands the fact that we're $19 trillion in debt, we've got 48 million Americans and not so Americans on food stamps, for heaven's sakes. You know, at some point, this train's not going to continue. There's no way to keep pulling it. We don't have enough people working to take care of all those that are not working. And you're right, the millennials don't understand their dilemma. This country was built on hard work. I have worked my tail feathers off since I was 11 years old with my first paper out, and I'm still working today. Well, there are millions, 48 million Americans who are not working, folks. They're not feeding themselves. They're not educated enough, and they're living on food stamps and Section 8 housing. And these Muslims coming in, again, we're $19 trillion in debt, Deb. And we keep bringing in all of these Muslims and all of these immigrants, all these refugees from around the world. But as I've said many times, the third world could care less. They keep adding 80 million net gain, desperately hungry, water shortage babies to this planet every single year in and year out. We must, again, shut down the borders of America to massive immigration if we're going to save ourselves.
You know, both of us, you and I went to college. Both of us took a lot of pride to study for our later careers. Both of us are working. Both of us are contributors to the society. And when I watch television like I did last night, and I look at these millennials that are interviewed with the rings in their ears and the bones in their noses, and they're asked about who Bernie Sanders is and what he represents. Oh, he's a gimme, man. He's going to give me this. He's going to give me a free education. The gimme is the attitude that these people have. What in the world is going to happen in the future of America?
Well, if you go to my Facebook page, I just put up a new post, and go to Frosty Wooldridge on Facebook. And there's a guy that's going around asking all of these people walking down the sidewalk, and most of them are women, but there's some men. Well, as Hillary Clinton comes into the presidency, she's advocating for Sharia law. And these people are going, I support Sharia law.
Yeah.
All of them. These are white American kids somewhere in their early 20s, and they support Hillary Clinton because she supports Sharia law.
Yeah.
Then they support the Sharia law. And if you do support Sharia law, you as a woman absolutely have no rights whatsoever under Islamic Sharia law. You have none. They vanish. Your husband can beat you. Your husband can do female genital mutilation. Your husband can arrange your marriage to some stranger. It's unbelievable how barbaric this is. And these people are all sitting there going, yeah, I want to see Hillary implement Sharia law. Go to my Facebook page. You can see the interviews. That's how crazy and how stupid the youth of this country are, along with the apathetic people that are not doing anything at all.
But the primary thing I want to bring out, and I've only got 2 minutes left here, Frosty, is that how do we change it? I mean, we are at a crossroads right now that I think this is the most important election ever in the history of the United States. And you've got a liberal demonic left with a raucous magpie-voiced Hillary Clinton, and everything she stands for is against what I believe. I know she's going to get extremely liberal. I know she's going to take this country down the wrong path. And on the right, we've got confusion and a fragmented party. How are we going to get this thing back on track?
Every person listening, there's no question in my mind whether you like Donald Trump or you don't like his bombacity or his narcissism, whatever. He is an all-American man. He's a citizen president. And I haven't seen anything that's going to make a difference other than Donald Trump. And that's why I'm going to vote for him. I absolutely need a man who's going to stand up for our country. If Hillary gets elected, we are going down the same path that this God-forsaken Barack Obama has taken us for the last 7 years, and we are literally going to end up on the ash heap of history as a broken, fragmented, and fractured culture and civilization. And before we know it, there will be more getting freebies that we, the ones that work, will not be able to sustain. That means we're all going to crash together. That's what we're looking for if we continue and we vote a Hillary Clinton or a Bernie Sanders or even a John Kasich into the White House. We're screwed. That's the final bottom line on this thing. That's what I can say, Zeb.
Well, I'm going to be giving you a call after, if not this program, maybe sometime this afternoon or tomorrow, and I want to talk to you a little bit about next week's show. There are so many things that are going on in this country right now, whether it's television with the absolutely filthy, sick, what they call comedies on TV, all the way down to what's happening in the media or not happening in the media. I think from now on every program, you and I are going to dissect what's going on wrong in America that needs to be cleaned up.
I can certainly do research on that, and we can really expose what's going on because it is really out of control. And at some point, all of us, every single one of us, black, white, brown, red, yellow, we're all going to pay as we see our own civilization slip away and literally end up in illiteracy. As I've said, the key word for illiteracy is the keynote word for all of the third world. We, of course, are following in that footstep. Of course, overpopulation, we're following in the same footstep as we add another 100 million immigrants to this country. So, yeah, I'm ready to do that. We can get on the phone and you and I can talk and get the subject matter, and let's go after it.
All right, Frosty Wooldridge, Golden, Colorado, my dear friend. God bless you, Frost. Talk to you after the program. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Zeb.
You bet. Take care. Good buddy, Frosty Wooldridge, and really knows what's going on, and I appreciate it. Hey, by the way, don't forget, I've been telling you this quite a bit. If you're looking to advance your career and better your employment, you better go to the big hiring event going on at Dot Foods in Burley this Saturday, March 19th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., and it's at Dot's Distribution Center in Burley. Or you can apply now at dotfoods.com/careers, and they have full full and part-time jobs available, please, they've got employment opportunities at Dot Foods this Saturday, March 19th from 10 to noon at the Dot Distribution Center in Burley. Don't you miss it. By the way, you need to get away from your job. You need to get away from all the hassle. You need to get away from all the stress, and you need just to get away. Well, if you're going to get away and get up in the hills, be sure and stop over to Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, because that's where the fun is sold. They have got a huge showroom with all the different ATVs, all the dirt bikes, all the accessories. They've got it all for you over there. And I want to stress the fact that if you already own an ATV, dirt bike, whatever, and you need to get them serviced before you start using them really heavy this spring and summer, now is the time. You better give them a call at 436-4771. Let's Ride. You bet this is really, truly where the fun is sold. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. You stop over and see them today. While you are over there, I want to remind you about our friends at Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. And, very important items that sometimes we always push to the back burner, and we don't address these issues until, unfortunately, it's too late. Talk about life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits. They can help you, and they will help you. All you have to do is give them a call, make an appointment today, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. By the way, I want to remind you that tomorrow on the program at 9:30, don't forget, we're going to have Act Now for America, Brigitte Gabriel on the program at 9:30 tomorrow. Don't miss that program. By the way, happy Easter wishes from the Book Plaza at 222 West 11th Street in Burley with our dear friend Colonel Dale. And the Book Plaza has all your Easter gift-giving needs, the precious moments, figurines, books, decor items, special gifts, special ideas, beautiful children's department. Please stop in for your Easter cards, everything at the Book Plaza, 222 West 11th Street in Burley. And along with the Goodie Shop. Oh, this is a good shop. The Goodie Shop. I love what they have over there at 133 West Main in Burley. They can create all the Easter baskets. You can create your own, or they'll make them up for you, and they've got all kinds of cookies. They can do a man's basket that includes jerky and fruit and peanuts and brownies and everything. It's delicious. At the Goodie Shop in Burley, the number to call, 647-0106. Let's go to the phone lines right now, and a gentleman that's been on my program quite a bit, and I think he's almost becoming a stalwart of this program, and we say good morning to Mr. John Zemurek. How are you, John?
I'm good, but I'm having trouble hearing you, so if you can turn up the volume.
Yeah, I'll have our engineer Wheels. You're going to have to run and monitor that a little bit. So can you hear us now?
Still could use a little more.
Wheels, turn it up a little bit more for him, please.
There we go.
All right, thank you. He's going to have to run the gain on that. John, things are going on in this country that I just can't understand why the general public in America has lost its values, lost its morality, and now we're even seeing a losing of morality at some of the major universities, including Notre Dame. What is going on?
Well, I think what's happening with Catholic colleges and universities is that, first of all, they were taken out of church control in the 1960s. Up until the 1960s, the local bishops had the right to say a great deal about what was taught and who was hired at the Catholic universities under his sway. And that's traditionally how the church works. And it was a real change, of course, in the mid-60s for Catholic universities to cut themselves loose of the local church authorities. Everybody was optimistic at the time, though, because it was Vatican II. We're opening to the world. What could possibly go wrong? Well, now we know what could possibly go wrong, that Catholic universities have been secularized in exactly the same way that Protestant universities were. Remember that Yale and Harvard and Princeton all started as Protestant seminaries. More recently, Duke University was a strong Methodist school up until the 50s. It's, the name Trinity, its undergraduate school is the Trinity School. It's really staggering to me that the Catholic bishops and the Catholic academics in the 60s couldn't see that we were not immune to secularization, to chasing after the things of this world, worldly respectability and power. And nowadays, people like Joseph Biden has power and respectability, so Notre Dame is inviting him and giving him an award. Cecile Richards of Planned Parenthood has wealth and respectability in some circles, so Georgetown is having her to speak there.
I am absolutely shocked when you talk about the change in personality and acceptance of some of these schools and universities. And when you mentioned that Georgetown University and the piece that you wrote for The Stream is planning to host Planned Parenthood Federation of America, I about fell off my chair.
Sadly, I was not surprised. Catholic colleges, virtually all of them, 95% of them, I would say, are just an expensive waste of time. You might as well go to your state university. They're going to be just as politically correct. They'll be almost as left-wing, and they're much more expensive. So I think the answer is for ordinary Catholics to stop wasting their money on these Catholic colleges, virtually all of them with a few exceptions, and just go to your state university and don't run up a bunch of debt.
You know, John, when you talk about the Catholic universities like Notre Dame and others, Georgetown, etc., really you're opening the door, and I think you already alluded to it, that there are other church-based and other denominations that have weakened their stand also, haven't they?
Well, I mean, if you think about it, I would say 80% of the colleges in America that aren't state universities were founded as Protestant colleges. And most of them have been secularized. I mean, I live near the campus of Southern Methodist University. It is not a particularly Methodist place. It is a nice, good, expensive private school for people who can afford it. That is what tends to happen in our secular society, unless you have a very strong theological impulse pushing back. It's literally like swimming upstream in a river, like a salmon. If you're going to, the salmon has to swim upstream if it's going to perform its mission of spawning and reproducing the salmon race. We Christians have to swim upstream against a society that is increasingly secular, and we have to keep swimming, and if we ever relax, we drift downstream and we become just like everybody else.
Well, John, help me a little bit, because where did all this start? Who really was the motivating force or source to start this undercurrent against really the basics of the religion and the school and the respect and the morals? Who really changed this and started this major change to go secular?
Well, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but I'll point to Theodore Hesbrough, the president of Notre Dame from the early 60s, well into the 80s. He's the one who led the charge at the Land O'Lakes conference, the city of Land O'Lakes. I think that's Illinois, or is it Indiana? And they had a conference where American Catholic academics got together, and they claimed that the reason that schools like Notre Dame and Georgetown were not spoken of in the same breath as Harvard and Yale was that they were being held back by being tied to the bishop, that they were not able to follow their intellectual horizon, their intellectual lodestar. They couldn't achieve everything they could. They would have been able to. They couldn't fulfill their potential because they were held back by a kind of old world Catholic ghetto, inward-looking concern to preserve the Catholic faith on campus. And they said, we need to relax. We need to trust our faculty, trust our students, trust our administrators, that the Holy Spirit will move in them, and they're all of goodwill, and we're all going to walk together. We'll be like John F. Kennedy walking into the sunset. But, of course, what happened was we ended up more like Teddy Kennedy staggering off a bar stool into the night.
Yeah. You know, when I look at other schools that, while you're talking, I was just trying to think of other schools that have the Christian name or the mantra, and I was thinking of TCU, Texas Christian University, and of course, Liberty University. Is there or are there major pushes behind the scenes to secularize a lot of their attitudes?
Well, I think, it happens in different ways. The fact that Jerry Falwell Jr. is tying himself to Donald Trump, that's a worrying phenomenon. I think that's another form of secularization. You can be secularized from the left. You can also be secularized from the populist right. I'm very concerned that evangelical Christian schools not just become generic conservative Republican places that mention Jesus occasionally. So I think Liberty University is probably a much more profoundly Christian place than Notre Dame or Georgetown are today. But Falwell's getting in the sandbox with Donald Trump is alarming.
Can there, or will there, or is it even possible that we can see some transitions back to the basics, like at Notre Dame, or like at Georgetown, or any of the schools you aforementioned? Or is it too far gone now, and it's just beyond hope?
I think it's too far gone, and it's beyond hope. And that religious parents, unless they happen to know about a small conservative school near them, I've heard people say some good things about Wyoming Catholic College. I don't know it personally. There are some small startup Catholic colleges around the country that are Orthodox Catholic. They focus very heavily on teaching liberal arts, however, and I worry that very few people really can go there, take on the debt that they'll accumulate, emerge, with $30,000 in debt and a liberal arts degree. I think there's something quixotic about it. My advice to parents is send your kids to your local state university on in-state tuition. Have them live at home if there are no single-sex dorms. Try to help them graduate in 3 years if possible with zero debt. That's the best thing you can do for your kids. Let them live at home, go to church, have them go to church with you. Try to avoid that whole college life. Don't think that your kids need or deserve, I had a college, 4 years of college, I was in a sorority, I was in a fraternity, my kids deserve the same. It's not the same as when you were there.
Yeah.
There was no hookup culture when you were there. The professors were probably not as radicalized as they were when you were there. To me, college has become, an 4-year hazing by the left that your kids have to get through if they want to be admitted into the work world.
What you just said was absolutely, it was quotable, and it was something that I'm going to use on my program in the future. And I also want you to expand on that a little bit, John, because I've said on this program many, many times, when you see the various interviews on the news at night with some of these millennials that are supposedly going to college, they're not going to college to become better. They're not going to college to learn maybe their goals and their wants for the future in a certain trade or industry. They're going to be activists, and this is where I really take exception against what college education is today.
Oh, I agree. A lot of these campuses, especially Yale, where I went to school, have become really expensive, subsidized playgrounds for less privileged, upper-class, left-wing hypocrites. And they're just not healthy learning environments. This is not so much the fault of the students, it's the fault of the faculty. This is what the faculty and the administrators have allowed these schools to become, because they lack the backbone to stand up to angry, self-righteous 18-year-olds, or they themselves are tenured radicals who took over their campus back in the 1960s and were rewarded for it by getting a job at that school or a similar school. So I think the whole idea that college in America is part of forming you as a whole person and introducing you to Western culture, that's dead. We need to do that with our students in high school. There's something called classical homeschooling. What it does is it introduces into a high school homeschool curriculum the same kind of liberal arts education that they used to give in English public schools, that they used to give in American colleges. I think that's your best shot. Classical homeschooling in high school, and then in-state tuition, try to graduate in 3 years, guide your kid and tell him not to listen to what his professors say in 90% of the time.
Let me ask you this, John, and maybe I'm wrong on this, but when I was reading the piece that you had written for the stream, it appears that a lot of these colleges and universities will accept the Planned Parenthood and abortion and accept a lot of secularism and over the Bible, but yet in the same vein, when they accept this, they're being very ambiguous when they're denouncing and trying to filter or stop the free speech of Donald Trump. Would you comment on that, please?
Well, I noted in the article that while the Catholic Bishop of Fort Wayne, Indiana, is not condemning Notre Dame for inviting Joe Biden, who supports partial birth abortion, that's right up to the end of pregnancy, a baby who's otherwise would be born alive, you can kill it. He supports that. The local bishop has said nothing. In the next diocese over, in a neighboring city, I don't have it up in front of me. Actually, I do. Just a second. It's in the city of Gary, Indiana. There was a high school basketball game, and one of the high schools was mostly white and the other was mostly Hispanic, and the white kids had Donald Trump signs and were chanting, "Build a wall." Now, that's obnoxious, you know. That's the kind of nasty and unsportsmanlike behavior. But he labeled it as a racist incident, had the students had their signs confiscated, and he's investigating them. They might get thrown out of school. I want to know why it's okay to support partial birth abortion, but not a Republican candidate for president who, while I think he's a terrible candidate, he at least claims to be pro-life.
Are we, in your opinion, John, yesterday in USA Today, there was an article written by Frank Luntz, and basically the article was that the Republican Party has to change. The Republican Party has to, in my opinion, lower its standards to welcome in the millennials and create more of a party for them. I disagree. You know, we're looking at a segment of our society where most of these millennials, they don't have a job, they don't own a home, they don't rent a house, they don't have a family, they don't have a payroll to meet. Why do we have to open up the doors for them and make amendments for them so they accept the Republican Party?
Well, I guess the idea is that you'd want their votes, but, you know, I point out that Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump are two candidates who have not tacked to the middle. They have not gone scooping up trying to find, well, what do ordinary people think? Let me make sure I'm right in the center of that. No, they took firm, strong, kind of extreme stands, and that attracted people. It's kind of scary, but we live in a polarized time. And I don't think squishy, moderate candidates are going to go anywhere. Look at Jeb Bush. Look at Marco Rubio.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you one thing. Today is crunch time, and with another Super Tuesday, with all the delegate votes and everything, I believe at the end of this day, going into tomorrow morning's early hours, we're going to have a much more clear-cut picture as to where politics is going to go for this fall election. Would you agree?
I agree, yeah. I think it's going to be very important for the Republican Party to look carefully at its options. I'm very hopeful that Senator Cruz will pull out some strong results, and I'm hopeful that Donald Trump won't get both Ohio and Florida. I hope he's denied one of those two prizes, and that we keep this a fighting race right up through to the convention.
I agree, and thank you, John. Kind of the spur of the moment, you kind of came in off the bench and hit a home run for us. John Zamirak with the stream, and thank you for being on the program this morning.
You have a good day.
Thank you, sir. Good gentleman and a good writer, and talking about how liberalized major colleges and universities are in this country and turning into a more secular attitude. which I find disgusting. I mean, they had their value system. Let's talk about Notre Dame, or talk about Duke, or talk about any of the colleges, TCU, whatever it might be. And now they're being changed and liberalized just to go along with the flow. And I can't support that. We are, at this time, going to have a weather forecast, and the weather is brought to you by Rogge Auctions and their great big spring community sale, which is going to be held on April 9th at the Minidoka County Fairgrounds. And here's the deal. They're taking consignments right now for this big spring community sale, and you need to call in today to get on the sale bill. Hurry, call them. Farm equipment, livestock equipment, weapons, ammo, ATVs, side-by-sides, everything, and they will not be accepting household items. This is going to be a quality sale only. You can call Ron Rogge at 431-6187 or Cade Rogge at 431-0074, or check out their website at RoggeAuction.com for an update on the items. Don't forget to do that today. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Another windy day here in the valley. Of course, we are in a wind advisory through 8 o'clock tonight. Steady winds out of the west, right around 20 miles an hour. Gusts possible of 25 plus. Of course, we're going to remain windy at least through Thursday. Looks like partly cloudy skies for today. High of 43 tonight, low of 28 tomorrow. Wind will continue out of the west, right around 15 miles an hour. Partly cloudy skies. High of 50 with an overnight low of 31. That's going to continue through Thursday, but it's going to push some of the clouds out. Looking at mostly sunny skies for Thursday with a high of 50, overnight low of 27. Yesterday's high was 45, the overnight low was 32. That is your weather for Zebit the Rain.
Oh, thank you, Gina. Great job with the weather as usual. Rogge Auction Spring Community Sale coming up on April 9th at the Minidoka County Fairgrounds. Consign early to get on the sale bill. In other words, do it today. Call Ron Rogge at 431-6187 or Cade Rogge at 431-0074. Okay? All right, your calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. In accord with what we were talking about just a few minutes ago about the secularism of what's going on at our colleges and universities, and they're disavowing some of their religious principles and what they used to stand for, I did not and have not, nor will I, watch this TV show. And anybody out there that has seen this supposedly sitcom show called The Real O'Neills, I have not watched this, and I won't, because I had a Media Research Center action alert sent to me on last week. And they said this was absolutely one of the worst, filthiest anti-Christian shows on television. And I couldn't believe my eyes when I looked down at the bottom of this article that they'd sent me, and it's being produced by the Disney Corporation. There have been some basic, really, changes and revolutions in the Disney Corporation since Walt Disney was alive. Used to be the most wholesome, family-oriented corporation on the face of the earth. And now, Disney chairman and CEO Bob Iger is sanctioning, and they're producing and distributing this so-called sitcom called The Real O'Neills. And I understand that in the first couple of episodes, they basically mocked Jesus. They absolutely mocked Christianity. They came out with topics regarding not only sexual innuendos, but they were going into the mocking of certain church situations. Why? Why should we allow this kind of garbage on national television? And if somebody has seen this show called The Real O'Neills, these TV sitcoms, I believe today, are made for the less intelligent with an IQ of about 6, and they're not funny. You know, in the old days, and I'll stand behind this, and I think you'll agree with me, whether it was the Dick Van Dyke Show, the Real McCoys, or the Mary Tyler Moore Show, or any of those shows, they were funny because they relied on humor and not filth and running something down like Christianity. And so there again, I say that if you have seen this show, The Real O'Neills, give me a call. I'd like to hear what your thoughts were about it, because it's on ABC television, and I personally will not watch it. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a jingle. Don't forget our friends at Red's Trading Post, 203 Fifth Avenue South in Twin Falls. Oh, my goodness, since 1936. They've been in historic Old Town Twin Falls. They've got all the guns. They've got all the guns, Browning, Beretta, Weatherby, Ruger, Benelli, Smith & Wesson, and Winchester, all the ammo, all the accessories. And I made a note the other day when I said this. A gentleman called me and he said, oh goodness, he's a reloader, and he didn't know that Red's Trading Post has the hard-to-find powder for all the reloads. Yep, they've got it at Red's Trading Post, 203 Fifth Avenue South in Twin Falls. You stop in and see those great folks today. Really good people. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I mentioned in the first hour this morning, and I'll mention it again, that the Burley Senior Center, the Golden Heritage Senior Center, is going to have a community breakfast, and that's coming up this Saturday, March 19th. They're going to start at 8 in the morning and go till 10 o'clock, and they're located at 2421 Overland Avenue in Burley, and the proceeds of that $7 per person for breakfast is going to be absolutely delicious. The proceeds go to help, the Meals on Wheels program. And for more information, be sure and call 878-8646. That's coming up this Saturday. You know, for a long, long time, we talked about our dear friends, Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more on our program. And holy smokes, they have something special going on for you right now. I mean, let's talk about recliners today. There is nothing better than coming home from work and taking your shoes or boots off and getting in that recliner and going, oh, does that feel good? Well, they've got all the recliners, a huge selection, and you can save a whole bunch of money, up to 50% off. And then they've got the lift recliners, and then they've got all the bedroom furniture and the queen mattress sets, everything at low, low prices. I urge you to stop in and see our friends today at Lee's Furniture, 459 Overland in Burley, and they're waiting for you right now. They've oiled the doors, no squeaks, just walk in and say hello. We're here to look at the furniture at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more. Well, in about 8 or 9 minutes, we're going to be having Dr. History on our program. And then at 10:30 this morning, we're going to have another lady that has written articles for various publications, including The Stream. Her name is Rachel Alexander. And she's got an article out that kind of intrigued me when I read it online. And it said, would you still support Donald Trump if you knew he had said these things? Well, we're going to go through some of the things that were attributed to Donald and find out what people think about it. And Rachel Alexander is going to be on at 10:30 this morning. Real quick note that tomorrow, I want to mention again at 9:30, a very impressive guest that is known worldwide, and that is Brigitte Gabriel will be on the air at 9:30 tomorrow morning. You tune in. Right now, we're going to send it back over to our main studios, and we'll be back in 6 minutes with more Zeb at the Ranch. Oh my, good morning and welcome back to Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, and all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today. Call 734-6969. I'm Zeb Bell here in the studio, and Wheels is over at the main studio, and we're about ready to have Dr. History, so stay tuned. But first and foremost, as I clear my throat, I want to remind everybody about Doug's Alternator and Starter Repair at 635 21st Street, Al Fresco Road in Heyburn. The number to call for an appointment for Doug to fix your starters and alternators and generators. He can fix everything from lawnmowers to choo-choo trains. 878-4991. 878-4991. Doug's Alternator and Starter Repair. Also, like I've been telling you, don't forget there are job opportunities. You bet. You want to make something out of your life? Well, by golly, advance your career. Check out Dot Foods in Burley. Yes, sir, they're having a hiring event on Saturday, this coming Saturday, March 19th from 10 to noon at Dot's Distribution Center in Burley. You can check out full-time and part-time work, and I'll tell you what, they are great people to work for. And don't forget, apply now at dotfoods.com/careers or be there Saturday, March 19th from 10 to noon at the Dot Distribution Center in Burley. Right now, it is time for one of my very favorite segments that is listened to in 112 countries, and they still have not severed relations with the United States, and that's, of course, Dr. History. And it's brought to you by Minnecasia Sales at 1321 East Main Street in Burley, right across from the airport. Zach and the whole crew with all your building and remodeling needs. And we'll tell you more about that in just a little bit. But right now, here he is, Dr. History.
Good morning, Zeb. How you doing this morning?
Good, my friend. What's going on?
Well, just a quick note. Tomorrow is my wife and I's anniversary.
How many?
38 years that she has put up with me.
Only 38?
Yeah, and she's getting me trained.
In what way?
In every way.
Really?
Yeah.
When you say trained, I don't want to pursue that too far, but...
Well, she deserves a medal. But
I see.
Anyway.
38 years?
38 years. That's great. Yep.
We're working on this next fall 45.
Oh, man, I'm glad I'm not as old as you.
Deanne's going to really be offended when you said that.
Well, she's a lot younger than you.
Well, I know that. Okay. Well, congratulations.
Thank you. Well, you know, when you think about the Hollywood depiction of holdups, like bank holdups, train robberies, stagecoach, you see a well-planned out, well-thought-out plan with everybody doing their parts and a successful holdup.
I have a feeling you're going in the opposite direction.
We are going entirely the other direction.
Kind of the botched gang.
This is one you're thinking, whoa, these guys really messed up here.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to 1878, January. It's cold winter.
Okay.
It's out in Kansas, and there's a little town called Kinsley. Okay, it's a small settlement northeast of Dodge City. The citizens were probably just trying to keep warm as much as the time was possible and not really expecting any trouble, but they got it anyway one evening as a half a dozen or so strangers galloped up to the Santa Fe Depot with guns on their hips and robbery in their hearts.
So, in other words, they played their card.
So far.
Okay.
You're going to wonder. Okay, so the gang of this would-be train robbers was led by a guy named Mike Rourke. Okay. He's our main character.
All right.
Tough guy, tough hombre. Anyway.
But dumb.
This would not be the first holdup Rourke had ramrodded. This time, however, the outcome was going to be different. In fact, things had started to go wrong already for Rourke and his gang, which included another experienced desperado named Dave Rudabaugh. Okay, so
now,
you got Rourke.
Wait a minute. Dave Rudabaugh used to ride with Billy the Kid.
Yeah, these guys they rode with other people.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, the Outlaws' original plan called for them to hold up the eastbound train when it stopped for water at a tank several miles west of Kinsley. Okay, they'd been in place, ready to leap out of their hiding place and take over the train, but as the locomotive approached the water tank, the engineer never slowed down. The train just barreled on through, heading towards that little town of Kinsley.
Now, wait a minute. These guys, they didn't make allowances that the train might not stop?
No, they figured it was going to stop. So, but unknown to Rourke and Rudabaugh and the other outlaws, the train had run low on water ahead of schedule and had stopped to take on more in Dodge City.
I see.
So he just zipped on through.
I see.
So, after staring for a moment in disbelief and confusion at the eastbound train as it went off into the distance, the outlaws jumped on their horses and they intended to catch up and carry out the robbery while the train was stopped at Kinsley.
I see.
Now, they took a shortcut, so they didn't exactly follow the train, to get to Kinsley. Now, when they thundered up to the station in the small settlement, no train was in sight. So, they thought they had beaten the train there, and they rushed into the depot with their guns drawn.
Now, something tells me that you're going to have a twist in the story.
There's going to be a twist, and here it comes. There was only one man present in the railroad station, and it was a young telegraph operator named Andrew Kincaid.
Uh-huh.
All right, so here we got Rourke, Rudabaugh, and Kincaid.
They're inside.
Yeah. Now, since they had gotten there before the train, Rourke must have figured this was a chance to grab some more loot.
Sure.
So he leveled his pistol at Kincaid and demanded all the money that was on hand at the depot.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the cool-headed Kincaid, he opened the cash drawer in the desk to show the outlaws it was empty. Nothing.
Okay.
So, with his frustration surely growing, Rourke asked about the safe that was locked. Well, Kincaid explained that he could not open it. The only key was in the possession of the station agent who was down at the hotel asleep.
I see.
Now, this might be a good place to take a break.
You know, and ladies, this is like those Saturday morning serials where you hear all of a sudden the organ music come up and go, da-da-da-da. All right, we'll take a break. Hey, by the way, Zach and the rest of the crew at Minnecasia Sales, they have all your lumber needs for remodeling that you're going to be doing this spring. Maybe you got some money back from Uncle Sam on your tax returns. Well, now you can go over and invest it. Invest it in your home. Stop in and see Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley, right across from the airport. They've got all the remodeling wood and lumber, and they've got all the shingles to redo your roof, and you can upgrade the windows with the Western windows. And talk about carpet. They've got rolls and rolls and rolls of carpet. Stop in and see Zach and the crew today at Minnecasia Sales, or give them a call at 878-2091. And now, here comes the organ music. Dum, 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 dum. Back to a foiled robbery.
Okay, so we've got Rourke with his gun out on Kincaid, the young telegraph operator, who says he can't open the safe because he doesn't have the key. Okay, so the outlaws must have looked at each other wondering what to do next. Well, while they were doing so, the shrill sound of a train's whistle floated in from the chilly night outside.
It's coming in.
Rourke and his gang had been expecting that, knowing that the eastbound would announce its arrival with the whistle before pulling into the station. There was only one problem.
What's that?
The sound of the whistle came from the wrong direction.
Oh, you mean this is another train?
Yeah. So a westbound train is coming into the station. The approach of a train from that direction meant that the eastbound train, the one that had originally been the target, had already gone through.
So they'd gone through the town, and they went on another set of tracks, and a westbounder is coming in.
The eastbound is gone.
Yeah, these dudes they were wondering what's going on.
Yeah, they had just thought they'd beat it at the station.
I see.
So now we have a westbound that's about to pull in. Okay, that doesn't sound too bad.
Okay.
And even worse, there were passengers who intended to board that westbound train, because at that moment, two men walked up onto the platform. Kincaid spotted them through the window, and ignoring the guns that are on him, he let out a yell of warning.
Oh.
Remember, Rourke's got his gun on this young man.
Yeah, well,
but he yells out.
He's not bright.
Well, I don't know. But not wanting the men to get away and spread the alarm, the members of the gang charged out of the station to take these other guys prisoners.
No, so no, wait a minute. I got to get this in my mind's eye.
Okay.
The guy inside yells.
Warns the people out on the
and the
platform.
guys out on the dock, they hear this, but the guys inside that are holding their guns on Kincaid, they go out and say, "You are now our prisoners."
Exactly.
Okay, now from there.
All right. So the commotion provided enough of a distraction for Kincaid to be able to jerk free of Rourke's grip. The young telegraph operator lunged through the door onto the platform.
He didn't get shot.
No. By this time, the westbound train had almost reached the station. The rumble of the engine filled the air. No one expected what Kincaid would do next. With this huge iron horse rolling into the station, Kincaid flung himself off the platform into the air right in front of the train.
Now, let's stop there for just a moment and really wonder and perceive as to whether this young man was in his right frame of mind.
Well, after going through this, he actually, I think, was pretty brave. He really was.
Yeah, but stupid has to come in.
Well, I'm not done yet.
Oh, okay.
So, anyway, this daring maneuver paid off. Kincaid sailed all the way across the tracks, landed on the ground beyond the tracks, and the train just missed him. Just missed him.
Missed him.
But this huge locomotive now provided cover for Kincaid as he rolled over and sprang to his feet. He cupped his hands around his mouth and shouted up to the engineer in the cab that the station was being robbed. Frantically, he signaled for the engineer to keep the train moving.
I see.
So, to Kincaid's delight, the locomotive continued to roll on down the track.
Okay, but what about Kincaid?
We're getting to him.
Okay.
Well, I think that may be the last of him. We'll see.
Okay.
Anyway, the next moment, Rourke and Rutabaugh and the other outlaws got their only lucky break of the whole thing.
Oh, really?
The engineer hadn't seen Kincaid's daring leap in front of the train or heard his warning after all. So he didn't even...
He didn't even see the guy?
Yeah, it must have been just right in his couldn't see him.
Oh my!
So instead, the train's brakes were malfunctioning. The engineer finally got them to work, bringing the westbound to a halt about 100 yards past the depot.
Oh well, here 100 yards, there 100 yards. Yeah.
So Rourke and the other desperados dashed after it, running awkwardly in their high-heeled cowboy boots. You can picture that.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah. So Rourke and another man were quick enough to reach the locomotive while the engineer still didn't know what was going on. So, pulling their guns on him, they ordered him to get the train rolling again. Rourke wanted the train out of town so that he could be robbed at their leisure without having to worry about armed townspeople coming around and disturbing things.
Okay, now there's no guards on the train.
No.
And there's nobody with a gun on the train.
No.
And and to your knowledge, Kincaid's still standing there watching the train head west.
Right, it's still headed down the route down the track. So, anyway, the engineer stared down the barrel of the outlaws' guns, but he was quick-witted enough to tell Rourke that he couldn't move the locomotive yet.
Why?
He had released the pressure from the boiler when he was pulling onto the station, he said, and not enough steam had built back up yet. Well, as it turns out, this statement was not true, but it was enough to convince Rourke that he couldn't move the train.
He couldn't go anywhere.
Yeah. So meanwhile, two more members of the gang ran along the train to the express car to make the express company messenger open the safe for looting.
I see.
By this time, however, the messenger had figured out that something was wrong, and when the outlaw slid open the door, a shotgun blast erupted from inside the car. The messenger hadn't waited, but had fired as soon as he saw men with guns outside the car.
And what happened?
Well, the buckshot slammed into one of the would-be robbers and threw him backward onto the ground. The other man, being very brave, turned and ran as fast as he could.
Yeah.
Yeah. So up in the cab, Rourke and his companion heard the roar of the shotgun. They leaped down and hurried along the train towards the express car.
Okay, now you go slower, man. I'm following this. I am.
Here we go. Okay, we got the train stopped. We got one guy's already shot of the robbers from the messenger inside the express car.
And Kincaid's still standing by the tracks.
Yeah, he's still looking down the track about 100 yards. So anyway, as soon as the outlaws were gone, the engineer put the throttle to the engine, and the train began to move. Okay, so he really had lied to them, saying he couldn't move.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here the train is starting to move. It clattered away past the startled outlaws.
They're standing on the ground.
They're standing on the ground. So Rourke and his men knew it was time to cut their losses. They leaped on their horses, even the wounded man, and galloped away into the night. Now, practically everything that could go wrong with this would-be robbery had gone wrong.
Yeah, kind of.
Okay, so the train's headed down the tracks. The eastbound's going the other direction.
And the westbound that was going to get robbed, didn't get robbed, is still going west.
Still going away.
And Kincaid's standing
there, still wondering what happened. Okay. Well, the gang's troubles weren't over, because even though the attempted holdup had been a failure, the express company wasn't in the mood to let it pass unchallenged.
Well, I can't blame them.
Yeah, so the company turned to the newly elected sheriff of Ford County and asked him to go after the outlaws.
Okay.
Now, the young lawman was eager to do so. His name was Bat Masterson.
Oh, my goodness, the plot thickens.
The plot thickens.
And he went on to be famous and have a TV show.
He did. He was a great actor.
Yeah.
But anyway, a former buffalo hunter, Bat Masterson, he'd served as a deputy in Dodge City. He'd won the election for sheriff only by 3 votes.
Yeah.
And knowing that if he could capture Rourke's gang, people would be more likely to forget about how narrowly he had won the election.
Yeah, right.
Well, he collected a posse of tough, seasoned frontiersmen, and all of whom were friends of his, which you'd want to be a friend of, Bat Masterson. You know.
Yeah.
Anyway, the new sheriff set out on the trail of Mike Rourke and the rest of the robbers. Now, there were other posses also out searching for the outlaws.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, who organized that?
Well, that's a good question.
That's why I asked.
I don't know. Oh. But Bat Masterson knew the ground in this area probably better than anyone else in Kansas.
Okay.
Because he'd hunted buffalo out there. He'd guided people. He knew the territory.
You can't hide in Kansas.
Not from Bat Masterson.
There's only 3 trees.
Yeah. So, anyway, Bat led his posse to a place called Crooked Creek, and this was, I said it in January, so snow began to fall as they rode, and grew heavier as they camped at the creek on their first night out from Dodge City. The next day, the snowstorm became worse, turning into a real blizzard, and as the lawmen rode it through along Crooked Creek, an early dusk found them at the mouth of the creek where the cattle camp, where there was a cattle camp, which was a small cabin.
Okay. All right.
So Bat and his companions spent the night in the camp's little cabin.
So these are the good guys.
These are the good guys.
Okay.
Well, the next day, Bat's hunch paid off as two riders approached the cabin.
Uh-oh.
Now, watching them through the swirling snow, Bat recognized them as Rudaba and Rourke.
So they rode into a trap.
Yes. Now, so one of the posse guys volunteered to go out and pretend to be a check line rider staying in the cabin for the night so the outlaws wouldn't suspect that there were lawmen inside the cabin.
Oh, my goodness. Have they duped them?
They have. So the decoy maneuver worked. Laughing and joking about the blizzard, Rudaba and the guys, they stepped inside. Well, Bat Masterson moved out from behind the door, ordered them to elevate their hands, and seeing the pair of six-shooters in Bat's hands, the best thing to do was cooperate.
Really?
Wouldn't you?
And they caught them.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
So now the other deputies moved in and disarmed the outlaws, then put handcuffs on them. Well, the party had to wait out the storm in the cabin, but the next day they were able to start back to Dodge City to deliver their prisoners.
Wouldn't you like to have been a mouse in the corner of that
Just
cabin and
watch
heard
that.
the conversation?
Yeah, that would have been good.
Yeah.
Anyway, once that was done, Bat Masterson took up the trail of the remaining outlaws.
Oh, there was still some
Oh, yeah,
left.
still some guys.
Oh, okay.
So, but by now they had too much of a head start, but Bat and his men were unable to catch up to them. However, a couple of months later, two of the outlaws slipped into Dodge. Bat had identified them by now and had his deputies and other townspeople on the lookout for these fugitives.
Really?
So when he received a tip that the two men had been in town, Bat gathered up a posse again. The lawmen caught up just outside of Dodge City, arrested them without any gunshots or foul play of any kind.
So they just yelled, "Stop, you're under arrest."
And there might have been a big posse.
And they did.
They did.
I see.
So Mike Rourke, the leader of the gang, actually was still at large. He was still out there.
The brains of the outfit.
Yeah, so to speak.
Yeah.
Anyway, Bat Masterson still wanted to bring him to justice. Well, Rourke didn't elude the law forever. Less than a year later, another outlaw betrayed Rourke to the authorities.
Where?
I don't know.
Was it still in Kansas?
I don't know. It doesn't say. But he was captured, put on trial for the attempted holdup at Kinsley, and following his conviction, he was sentenced to 10 years in prison.
Really?
Now, Bat Masterson had tracked down and arrested 4 of the outlaws without firing a shot, and the affair was considered a spectacular success for him, and one of the first of many during his long career as a lawman. But it all started with a series of unforeseeable blunders and pure bad luck that dogged Mike Rourke and Rudaba and his ill-fated gang that winter night in Kansas.
What happened to Rudaba?
I don't know, because, he was caught, so I'm assuming...
See, in the movies and the stories of Billy the Kid's life, Rudaba played a very big part of that movie.
Yeah.
And I was just curious what happened to him.
I'm assuming they all went to jail.
He was the guy from back east, I think, originally.
Yeah, and I don't know much about him. I might have to see what I can find about that guy.
And then Bat Masterson, now there's an interesting person. The television series portrayed him as kind of a dapper Dan, with the cane, the gold-headed cane and everything. Was he really?
I don't know that there's even hardly any pictures of the guy.
Really?
And so I don't know. They, like I say, when you see it on TV, you got to wonder a little,
Now, Dodge City was not a real user-friendly town.
Yeah, that was a cow town.
Oh, boy.
They catered.
Have you ever been there?
I never have.
I have.
But they catered to the cowboys and the cattle drives and things like that, So I'm sure it was an interesting place to
There's a
visit.
lot of history when you go back there. I've done rodeos at Dodge City and also Wichita and Topeka and that. There's a lot of history back there.
Yeah, I've got books on just the things that happened in Kansas.
Yeah.
A lot of exciting events happened in Kansas.
Well, you ought to do a kind of a follow-up and see if you can find anything out about Rudaba and some of the other members of Billy the Kid's gang.
Yeah, because they, like you mentioned, they kind of intermingled and switched gangs here and there, and some rode with Butch Cassidy for a while, and then they'd go out on their own and things like that.
I think that whether or not the depiction of Butch Cassidy in the movie is really true or not, or if it stretches the truth, one of the funniest scenes in that whole movie is when they first get together, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, and they blow up one of the trains, and they just blew everything to smithereens, and Butch and Sundance are laying on the ground, and And Sundance says to Butch, you think you used enough dynamite there, Butch?
The poor guy that was inside the train.
Oh my gosh!
And as I recall, I believe they robbed that another train, and that same guy was in the same baggage car again.
You would have thought that guy would have asked for early retirement.
Well, maybe after that second explosion, he may have.
Stupid crimes in the Old West. Dr. History, good job this morning.
Thank you, Zeb.
Absolutely excellent. And by the way, Dr. History is brought to you by Minnecasia Sales at 1321 East Main Street in Burley, right across from the airport. The number to call, Zach and the crew, 878-2091. Don't forget they've got all your good quality carpet, and they're ready to show it to you. All you have to do is stop in and see them today. Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley. And before we send it over to Wheels at the main studio, I want to remind you, too, on Thursdays we have a segment called Cassia County School Days, and it's brought to you by Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland Avenue in Burley, and the number to call, 677-8888. And save you a lot of money, hundreds of dollars on outpatient surgeries. Call them today, 677-8888. Along with the Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley, and they're really ready to serve you with all kinds of great spring clothing. And don't forget, they got all the birthday presents for all the occasions, and always gift wrap free. Fun puzzles and games, Cherokee Strubs, it's all there for you at a Child's World in Burley, along with the Ambulatory Surgery Center, bringing you Cassia County School Days on Thursdays at 10:10. In just a moment, we're going to send it back over to our main studios. I want to remind you again that coming up next half hour, we've got Rachel Alexander from The Stream going to be talking about Donald Trump and some of his not-so-famous sayings. And then tomorrow, again, a reminder, at 9:30, we're going to have Act Now for America, Brigitte Gabriel on the program. Don't forget, that's tomorrow morning at 9:30. Right now, let's send it back over to our main studios. I'll be back in about 3 minutes.
Now back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KVAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Beck.
Thank you very much, and welcome back to our last half hour. You know, I was talking to Sarah Baxter last night with Cutting Edge Curbing at 424 16th Street in Rupert, and she was telling me all about the different kinds of curbing. And I'm telling you, it's going to add beauty and value to your property. And talking about the curbing, it can be the slant curbing, the mower's edge curbing, the square or the dome top, and it comes with all kinds of stamping available in the cobble-tone, slate, basket weave, natural stone, in many, many different colors. Wow, what a great idea to beautify your property. Please call Cutting Edge Curbing today at 808-3360. That number again, 808-3360, and get an estimate today. Sarah and Mike Baxter of Cutting Edge Curbing. Right now, we're going to go to the phone line, and we have with us a lady that's been on our program in the past, and she will come back again, I hope, in the future, Rachel Alexander, and she's going to tell us all about the fun little things that Donnie Trump has said over his career. Good morning, Rachel. How are you?
I'm doing great. I always love coming on the show. Thanks for having me.
You know, I got to be honest with you, Rachel, right up front, and I'm anxious to hear your take on this. When you wrote this article for The Stream called, "Would you still support Donald Trump if you knew he'd said these things?" Up front, don't you think that we as a voting populace in general are picking on Trump more than any other candidate, even though they themselves have a lot of shortcomings?
I think a lot of us are, yes, but I think it's legitimate. I mean, when you see how much he's changed his position and still continues to change his position, when you see the horrible things he said, I mean, there's just so many of them that never end. He still keeps saying them into the primary. And most importantly, when you look at all the polls of him against Hillary Clinton, he can't beat her in the general. The media will destroy him over the things he says. And so I think we kind of have an obligation to make sure he's not the nominee.
But on the other hand, and I'm playing devil's advocate on this, don't you think that when we disadvocate Donald Trump and disavow, if he gets the nomination for his party, that if everybody sits back and says, no, I'm not going to vote for him, that's an automatic shoe-in for the liberal left, of which this country cannot stand?
Well, I don't think that will necessarily happen, because remember, a lot of people didn't like Mitt Romney, and they still showed up. They went back and proved that that's not accurate, that, evangelicals and conservatives stayed home. He actually ended up getting, I think, more votes than John McCain did before him 4 years earlier. So I don't think people will necessarily stay home. I mean, I hear people talking about a third party, maybe, whatever. My gut instinct is if Trump does get the nomination, the GOP and Republicans will rally around him, and they will do everything to try to get him elected.
Now, first and foremost, before we get into some of his favorite verbal gaffes, I will say this, that I think Donald, along with being a very wealthy man, a very smart man, a very astute businessman, he missed the course on Charm and Charisma 101.
He has half of it, and half of it he doesn't have. Like, half of him sounds like Ronald Reagan, and you just want to agree with him. But the other half, he's just so offensive, and I think people forgive his offensiveness because they like his Ronald Reagan-esque, so much. He says the bold stuff that a lot of people don't have the guts to say, and so they give him a free pass. They know he's an entertainer, but that's the thing. He's an entertainer. He hasn't changed. He hasn't transformed into a politician. Reagan made the transition. Trump hasn't done it. He's only done it, maybe halfway, and that's not going to make a great leader.
All right, now, I'm going to let you have center stage, and I'm going to let you talk about this article and the gathering of all these little statements that Trump has made, and you can pick out the best and the worst or whatever in between. So go ahead. What really upsets you the most about some of the statements he's made?
Well, and I will say this. My article, what I tried to do is focus on the absolute worst things this man has said. Because people are always saying, oh, he called Rosie McDonald a fat pig. Oh, he did this, he did that. Okay, people differ. Some people think, oh, you know what, he's just being politically incorrect, nothing wrong with that. So I didn't include quotes like that. I only included the truly vile stuff that, the average American would look at and say, this is not right. So basically, I found 5 or so categories of remarks. There's mocking handicapped. There's mocking POWs. There's creepy comments. There's classless comments. There's really nasty things he said about leading conservatives. There's racist comments. And finally, there's misogynist, really offensive comments he's made about women with so many swear words I couldn't say it on air.
Yeah. Now let's talk. Let's break this down. In what category do you want to start first?
I'll just go from the top. I started with his remark about John McCain, and just for the record, I despise John McCain. I've worked on a campaign against him. He's threatened me 3 times, so I don't like McCain. But what he said about him was really nasty. He said, John McCain is not a war hero. He is a war hero because he was captured. I like people who weren't captured, okay?
Now, let me ask you this, and we'll talk about each and every statement. Number one, I think that when Trump said this, he was absolutely being naive and, quite frankly, stupid and ill-informed. I think that is a statement that he proved about 48 hours after he said it, that he wanted to walk back and try to cover it up. Don't you agree?
No, because he claims he's so smart. He sits there and he brags all the time. How many times, and that's another thing I could have included in here, but I didn't think it was quite offensive enough. He always talks about how brilliant he is. So if he's so brilliant, he should know not to say something like that. Why would he make fun of a man who was tortured and held in confinement for, was it 5, 6, 7 years?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just... The worst of the worst.
No, and I agree with you. That comment, when I heard it, my eyes went almost out of their sockets, and I thought, whoa, you talk about shooting yourself in both feet. He did. Now, mocking the handicap, that was another instance to where I turned around and I looked at the TV and I thought, Trump, how could you be so dumb? Explain what happened right there.
Basically, it was a rally in South Carolina not too long ago. There was a journalist who suffers from arthrogryposis, which locks your joints. So, like, his right hand is, like, permanently stuck up and distorted, and his fingers look all weird. And so Trump basically was taking a question from him, and he just started mocking him and contorting his face and his hands to look like the journalist. And he just said stuff like, now the poor guy, you got to see this guy. Oh, I don't know what I said. I don't remember. He's going, I don't remember. Maybe that's what I said.
Why do you suppose that Donald Trump hasn't had his handlers, and I mentioned this on the program after this statement regarding this reporter, why haven't his handlers or people that are close to him on the campaign, why haven't they sat down and looked him in the eye and said, Donald, watch your step?
Because the ones that keep reminding him and keep pressing it get fired. I don't think that man listens to anyone hardly. He calls the shots. He doesn't want to be told he does anything wrong. And for years in the entertainment and business industry, you have the money, you have the power, whatever, you can get away with it. But politics is different. And just because you can get away with it in the Republican primary doesn't mean you can get away with it in the general election. And that's why he's polling poorly in the general election, because you have to influence all those moderate, squishy, probably politically correct, a lot of them voters, and they're not going to put up with these remarks from him.
Well, now, you got some other ones in here that are really interesting, and I don't know if I even want to go into the one about his daughter. That, to me, I just as soon leave laying on the cutting room floor. But I would like to go back into the Rubio versus Trump in one of the debates about the hands, the fingers, and everything else. Both candidates, Marco Rubio and Donald Trump, in my opinion, during prime time, they lowered their stature, and quite frankly, I was offended. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I think Rubio did go too far. I mean, making fun of his hands and saying something else must be small. I mean, that's just not appropriate. Fortunately, Rubio usually doesn't say remarks very often that are that bad. Whereas Trump, he's got some weird thing going on with his hands, and he said it more than once, implying, that other parts of his body are long and beautiful, and it's just gross and tacky. And if you're somebody running for office, that's inappropriate. I think he confuses being an entertainer and a powerful billionaire who can say whatever he wants with running for office. If you're going to run for office, you got to be family friendly. Let
me ask you this, though, Rachel, and you study politics and you study exactly what's going on. When Rubio decided, pardon me for coughing in your ear, when Rubio decided to jump down in the gutter with some of these statements back at Trump and have a vice versa situation, it hurt Rubio. It absolutely diminished his value, not only with the voters, but his family was very critical also. Why, in the same vein, does that not hurt Trump?
That's actually a really good question. I would think because Trump has been doing this shtick for years as an entertainer, and so people are already used to him and they see him as an entertainer, whereas Rubio, they've only always seen him as a politician, so he doesn't get the free pass that Trump gets. People just look at Trump and they just think entertainer. They don't think typical conservative Republican candidate.
Now, you had some other comments about what he thought of certain conservatives, about Michelle Malkin and George Will and others. I'd like you to comment on those.
Yeah, I mean, he says Michelle Malkin is a dummy, and, I don't care who you are. Most of us conservatives love Michelle Malkin, and so to say that about her, she's actually brilliant. And he called Megyn Kelly a bimbo. I'm sorry. Whether you like Megyn Kelly a lot or not, she's fairly bright, and she's done well. You can't call her a bimbo. That is just, it's not even accurate. And, some people think it's sexist, misogynist, whatever. It's just rude. So, yeah, and then there's other things. He's called George Will a moron. He called Republican pollster Frank Luntz a total loser. He called Rand Paul a spoiled brat without a properly functioning brain. Again, that's not accurate. Rand Paul is a bright guy, whether you agree with him or not, and he's a doctor.
Why do you think, though, that Mr. Trump, I just can't imagine after he sees what he has said in print, whether it's in the New York Times or whether it's in the Los Angeles Times, why doesn't he reevaluate himself and say, whoa, wait a minute, I better tone it down?
My gut instinct is he can't help himself. I think, and he shouldn't say that, that's not really an excuse for anyone, but I think he's so set in his ways. He thinks he's so charming and funny, and people have loved him, for so long as he is. I think he's too arrogant to change. And, I read an article about him recently where it said he gets almost no sleep every night, and they kind of analyzed his behavior, and it said a lot of it is due to him not getting enough sleep. So when he makes these rash statements, loses temper or whatever, it's because of a lack of sleep. And so that actually wouldn't surprise me. That's why he's, so abrupt and abrasive, because he's kind of grouchy because he's lacking sleep.
All right, now that can be said of all the candidates at this stage in the game on the tour as far as trying to get the nomination. But now Trump is leading, and after tonight, he may very well be the nominee. Okay, so we're seeing the rough, gruff exterior and inner thoughts of a man that has, in many cases, shown that he doesn't have respect for various people. And this scares you a lot if he does become the President of the United States. Tell us your fears if he doesn't learn to be honed down and more resourceful.
You mean like in terms of whether he'll get he'll beat Hillary, or in terms of how he'll be as a president?
As he will be as a president, because, when you sit down, and I don't care if you're talking to the United Kingdom Prime Minister, I don't care if you're talking to the head of Oman or Jordan or any nation, you've got to be more refined. Can he do that and refine his exterior?
Yeah, and you bring up a very good point, because you've probably heard there are a lot of foreign diplomats that are saying they don't want to deal with Trump. They're actually, seeing if this is inevitable, this is a problem. So, it's really up to Trump whether he's going to rein himself in or not. And, I can see all kinds of things happening. First of all, of course, I don't think he's going to be able to beat Hillary. That's my main concern. But if he does beat Hillary, I think that if he doesn't rein himself in, you could see something really bad happening. I don't know whether they'll start impeachment proceedings against him. I don't know whether, the terrorists, will come after him. I just don't think it bodes well for America.
Let me ask you a question, Rachel. You study this, so you should have thought about this and have an answer for me. But let's just say that it goes to the GOP convention. And let's say that it's a fractured convention, and they, the delegates and the establishment, they do all they can at that said convention to disavow Donald Trump. What about the supporters of Trump? The millions and millions of voters that are going to feel like they've just been thrown into the gutter. What about them? This could dissolve politics forever.
Yeah, it's kind of almost a little bit like the Washington Post called it, Republican Civil War. If they do try to force a brokered convention and nominate somebody else other than Trump, you are going to probably see a backlash. Now, I think one obviously easy way to do it would be if he put in Ted Cruz. I think he would be the least offensive to the Trump people, because, he is pretty much running second to Trump right now. He is pretty anti-establishment. That's probably the smartest way the establishment could handle it. But, again, right, you're looking at a lot of angry Trump supporters, and we could see some pretty chaotic stuff going on.
Well, let me ask you on the other side of the aisle, and I'd be amiss if I didn't ask you this because you have a very good opinion on things, with the Democrats, the so-called Democrats. I mean, we have an avowed socialist/communist in Bernie Sanders. Good Lord help us all if he even gets a smell of the Oval Office unless on a guided tour. And then we have Hillary Clinton. And quite frankly, it could be an orange pantsuit that she's wearing on election eve because she might be indicted and sent off to jail. What kind of a choice do we have this year?
Yeah, it drives me crazy. Like, how can you support Hillary? She's, leading Sanders. How can you support this woman when she's committed multiple felonies? There's over 100 FBI agents investigating her. Many reputable sources have said they intend to indict her. They've already given immunity, I believe, to the guy who set up a private email server, obviously in exchange for his testimony against her. So, right, what's wrong with Democrats that they support her? And Sanders, he's their only other option, and he's an avowed socialist. And I wrote an article about Sanders. You might have seen it several months ago. And this guy is really scary. I mean, he used to do things like steal electricity from his landlord.
Oh, my.
He ran for office when he was on unemployment. I mean, this guy he's not much more ethical than she is.
When you look at the tone of politics, last thought on this, Rachel, but you look at the tone of politics in our nation today, really it's disgusting and it's gutter material. We don't have any real shining lights on the top of the hill. Would you agree?
I agree.
Last thought, we got a caller with a question for you, Rachel. Hold on just a second. Caller, quickly, I'm almost out of time. Real fast question. Go ahead.
Well, I was just wondering if she could see a situation where Bernie Sanders could actually end up being the president. Here's why I'm thinking that's possible. The Republicans split apart. Donald Trump runs as an independent. They split apart the party. The Democrats then have Hillary Clinton and get indicted. They end up with Bernie Sanders. I'd like to know her opinion on that.
All right. Go ahead, if you would. Please answer that, Rachel.
I think anything could happen. This is like the most chaotic presidential election I've ever seen. But I do believe if they indict Hillary before the general election, they will put Biden in the race at the last minute.
I agree.
That's what I think the Democrats will do to save the race.
I totally agree with you. Rachel, come back again. You're always welcome on this program. God bless you. Great story in the stream. Rachel Alexander, thank you very much for being on the program.
Thank you. God bless you.
All right. Take care. Thank you. Great lady and good political opinions, if you will. Oh, my goodness. We've got to get the weather on here. Old Wheels is saying, Zeb, look at the clock. I know. Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. The number to call, 324-7657. Scarrows Meats, changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. If you're getting some money back from the government on taxes, it's a great opportunity to invest in a tax return meat bundle from Scarrows Meats. 70-plus pounds of beef, pork, and chicken for only $249 plus tax. Hey, call your hometown meat cutter today. Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road in Jerome. And here's Gina with the weather.
Another windy day here in the valley. Of course, we are in a wind advisory through 8 o'clock tonight. Steady winds out of the west, right around 20 miles an hour. Gusts possible of 25 plus. Of course, we're going to remain windy at least through Thursday. Looks like partly cloudy skies for today. High of 43 tonight, low of 28 tomorrow. Wind will continue out of the west, right around 15 miles an hour. Partly cloudy skies. High of 50 with an overnight low of 31. That's going to continue through Thursday, but it's going to push some of the clouds out. Looking at mostly sunny skies for Thursday with a high of 50, overnight low of 27. Yesterday's high was 45, the overnight low was 32. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Oh, thank you, Gina. Brought to everybody by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, 324-7657. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. By the way, I neglected earlier this morning to say a happy birthday to a dear friend of this program, and he called not once but twice, and I had every opportunity to say happy birthday to him, and I forgot. my fault. Tony Salerno, if you're listening in Twin Falls, God bless you, and very special wishes on your birthday today. Sometimes I get so wrapped up in what's going on, I can't even see the paper that's laying in front of me. And a good excuse for that is you ought to see the top of this desk and you'd understand. But happy birthday to Tony Salerno, a real true friend of this program, living in Twin Falls. Thank you very much. Let's not forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh my goodness, all 7 of them really working hard to serve you. You drive in any location and all of a sudden they're coming out the door at a high low. May we help you absolutely with the best in tires for your cars and pickups and your horse trailers and your boat trailers. And I'll tell you what, they can help you. They've got a lot of their tires on sale right now, like the Ultra Z900. That is a really good tire for your automobiles, all-season design, and up to an 80,000-mile warranty. Better check it out. Along with all the convenient credit available for, of course, front-end alignment, shocks and struts, and batteries, and the best in brake service. They really can take care of you. And the 7 locations are Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. The best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. What have we got cooking for tomorrow on the program? Well, I'll tell you. We're going to have the open forum from 8:06 to 9, and then my good buddy back in Indianapolis, Indiana, Dave Beagle, is going to be on the program. Then, as I have told you, tomorrow morning at 9:30, and I certainly hope all goes well getting her on the air. She has a very busy schedule. We're going to have Brigitte Gabriel on the program. There is not anybody in the United States, and I mean this, no one that knows more about the Muslims coming into America, the refugees, and what's going on worldwide than Brigitte Gabriel. And she's going to be on the program at 9:30 tomorrow. Then at 10:06, of course, it's the monthly visit with our dear friend Kelton Hatch with the Idaho Fish and Game. All of that tomorrow, along with your phone calls. And then on Thursday, don't forget, St. Patrick's Day, we're going to be over at Denny's Restaurant at 11:30 after the program for Zeb's Lunch Bunch, and the person that wears the most green, like a little green leprechaun, Wheels is going to try to win that. It will get their lunch paid for. So come on, all you leprechauns, be at Lunch Bunch on Thursday. That's going to wrap it up for today and put it back in the box. And thank you for all your calls and all your kind comments. And don't forget, we'll be here tomorrow morning at 8:06. Zeb at the Ranch, and streaming live on ZebBell.com and right here locally on KBAR 1230 AM. And remember, the way things were are the way things ought to be. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 8:06.